Alright guys, so don't be like me. Don't buy an oil filter housing off Amazon, especially for the B8 S4. That is not the move. It is not the move. It almost effed my whole car. We are going to do a quick comparison. I think I found the issue with the car. So it was never the high pressure oil switch, the 2-pin switch that's on the back of the motor on the oil filter housing. That was never the issue. However, getting the updated version in the car is better than having an old one. And it's always good to have a new switch. So this one was installed on the car. The car actually was fired up and driven, and it is still dry. So obviously the switches were not getting any oil to begin with. So I bought this off Amazon, of course, trying to save some money, and save money. It fit well. Everything looks good, except for, if you can see inside of the housing there, the threads go all the way to the back and completely cover, if there was a port that goes from the center tube inside this housing. So that center tube leads to this right here, but if there even was a port drilled, it's covered up with the brass insert or whatever. I don't even know if it's brass or what. The insert, the threaded insert in there, is just covering up the port completely. These go all the way to the back, and then we'll go to the OEM one. As you guys can see, it's got the Audi logo on there. It is a MAN/Hummel or whatever, made in Germany. The threads don't go nearly as far, so you can see threads all the way to the end there. This one threads about halfway-ish, and yeah, the port actually from the center of this housing go to that, so the sensor will get oil. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, the only reason why I replaced this one with this one was because the gasket on the backside was leaking. So this guy, the gasket was totally just flat, smushed on there, totally leaking down the backside of the engine. This one had a fresh gasket, obviously, a fresh filter housing. So what I'll go ahead and do is actually just swap the gasket from this one to this one, and then put this one back on the car. It's kind of a hassle to get out, but we got it out. One thing that I'm going to try and do is, because there's not much room with those brittle plastic hoses in the engine bay, and this one is on a stud, we're going to go ahead and pop this insert out so we can rotate it onto the car, and then once it's all lined up, we can put this piece back in and snug everything down like it's supposed to, put the sensor back in, and put the rest of the bolts back in, and we should be good. So that was absolute headache. So anyway guys, here is the oil filter housing. This is the OEM one that came on the car. It took probably like 3 hours to change. Supposedly you are supposed to take off the supercharger to get to it. I didn't want to do that. So what I did was unbolt all of the sensors back here, undo the vacuum lines there, and you can kind of push those things out of the way. And then you really just have to be careful not to break the breather hose that comes off the valve cover. And you can kind of, once you get all of the bolts off the housing, you can kind of rotate it off of the stud, spin it counterclockwise, and yeah, it should come out. However, it does have a metal pin, I guess, that makes the plastic housing rigid so you can bolt it down tight enough. I got lucky with the cheap housing. The pin actually came out and made my life a little bit easier, gave me a little bit more wiggle room to spin it out. Otherwise you really have to pull the oil filter housing out from the engine this way about an 1.5 to 2 inches before you can even rotate it and try and spin it off of the stud that is guiding it on. So with the old housing, I went ahead and pressed the pin out and then drilled out the housing just a little bit, just to make it so the pin kind of just slides in and out very easy. And then I installed it without the pin and then slid the pin in after to make it so the system is fairly removable. Whenever I need to get to it, I can get to it and kind of pull it off a little bit easier. Still not super easy to get off, however, doable. So yeah, took forever, but we got it. Spilled a lot of oil in the process. Glad to have that done. Now we just need to get a tune and be able to rip on this car. Alright, anyway guys, I think I'm going to call it for the video. Kind of all over the place, but we got the car back to a running state, which super pumped on. Everything should be good. We'll take it for a test drive in the next video, and we will see if the oil pressure light is out for good or what's going on with the car. So should be good. Yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you on the next one. And this thing actually might be broken, so cool.